Have you looked at a property and felt like you needed to make a decision quickly? Maybe the estate agent told you that there was a lot of interest. Maybe somebody else had viewed it at the same time as you, and you've convinced yourself that if you don't act now, you'll miss the opportunity. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Because one of the most expensive emotions in property investing is fear of missing out, or FOMO. And the problem with FOMO is that it doesn't feel irrational when you're experiencing it. It feels sensible. It just feels like urgency, like, there's an opportunity, but very often it's neither. Over the years, I've seen investors make decisions they would never normally make because they felt pressure to act quickly. And that's what's interesting, is that the pressure is often completely artificial. The property market has always had urgency built into it. Estate agents will tell you there is strong interest, and actually you'll end up hearing things like, oh, we've had several viewings, offers are already coming in, this won't be around for long. And sometimes that's true. But whether it's true or not, it creates the same emotional response. You start imagining somebody else buying the property and that you've missed out on it. And before long, you're no longer analysing the deal properly. You're analysing the fear. Have you ever done that before? Have you ever found yourself looking for reasons to proceed rather than reasons to pause on a property purchase? Because that's usually where FOMO starts taking over. And I think social media has made things even worse. Every day we're exposed to people talking about purchases, completions, refurbishments, and portfolio growth. And if you're not careful, it can start to feel like everybody else is moving faster than you. You start thinking, oh, maybe I'm being too cautious, maybe I need to move quicker, maybe I'm missing opportunities. But the reality is you rarely see the full picture. You see the purchase, but you don't see the problems. You see the success story, but you don't see the mistakes. And that's dangerous because it creates pressure where none should exist. One of the biggest examples of this was during the pandemic boom. People became convinced that prices would continue rising indefinitely. There was a huge amount of urgency in the market, and as a result, many investors abandoned the process that they would normally follow. Deals were being agreed quickly, due diligence was being rushed, and I even saw people making decisions based on momentum rather than the fundamentals. Some of those decisions worked out, some of them didn't, but the lesson was the same. Urgency changes behaviour, and that's why I always come back to process. Because process protects you from emotion. When I look at a property, I don't care whether 5 people have viewed it or, whether the agent thinks it's going to sell tomorrow. And to be honest, I don't even care if anybody else is interested. What I care about is whether the deal works for me. Because if a property genuinely works, it should still work after proper scrutiny. A good deal survives questions. It survives that due diligence, and the pressure testing that needs to be done. The deals that struggle under scrutiny are usually the ones that rely on urgency, and that's something worth remembering. Whenever somebody tries to speed up your decision-making process, slow it down, give yourself space to think, review the numbers, challenge the assumptions, and look for reasons not to proceed. Because once the emotion disappears, the quality of your decisions usually improves. One thing I've noticed about experienced investors is that they're often less excited than newer investors. Not because they don't enjoy property, but because they've learned that excitement isn't evidence, urgency isn't even evidence, or even popularity. The only thing that matters is whether the deal genuinely makes financial sense. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Never let urgency replace analysis. The fear of missing out has cost investors thousands of pounds over the years, but taking an extra day or week or even an extra month to make a better decision rarely causes any real harm. In fact, it often does the opposite. If you're currently looking at a property and you're unsure whether you're analysing the deal or simply reacting to the pressure around it, that's exactly where an independent review can help. I offer CORE Deal Audits where we break properties down and assess the cash flow, operations, risk, and exit before you commit to purchase. There's a link in the description if you'd like to apply. And in the next video, we're going to talk about something that catches out far more investors than people actually realise. The red flags that people choose to ignore. Because most investors don't miss the warning signs, they explain them away. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.